That's good.
Community Pentecostal Holiness Church. Not holiness either, I'm sorry. Will lead us in the invocation and followed by the pledge. Thank you.
While you mentioned the charter school, I would like to introduce Dr. Jim Montag back there, who is our executive director. And for the new members of the board, especially with Brendan and Corey and Chase and others that are here, we invite you to come out anytime on 185. Mariposa Road, the way we say it around here, and we appreciate this honor to pray together. Let's pray. Father, what a joy it is to live in this town of Stanley. Lord, you've been so good to us. You've blessed us in so many ways, God. Lord, as a lifelong resident, I thank you, Lord, for the times I was able to go into Everett's office there at the bank with Kathy's dad there and sit down and just say, hey, you know, this is what I need. And all I had to do was sign my name. Lord, thank you for people like that who knew everybody, loved everybody, cared for everybody. Lord, for these, like Leanna, that make these decisions, Chase and Corey, Lord, I know him as a young boy, God, and now he's in this role, Lord. How good you've been, Lord, and for Marcia and her husband sang at my wedding, Lord, and you've been so good. Lord, I thank you for Brendan and others, Lord, that just bless us each and every day. Thank you, Lord, for Stephen. That job as a town manager is a tough job. And Lord, we thank you for Heath and all the years that he spent there. Lord, Stephen, he flipped the house next to me, and my son lives in it now, Lord. You've been that good to us. And Lord, for those who work with the finances of the town, Lord, the planning Olga, she's always been so good to work with. And Sarah, and Lord, anytime we had a trouble in the plumbing or anything there at the school or at the church or at my home, Daniel and the men were right on it, Lord, and I thank you for that. Lord, for those like Tug, who had spent time in training our children, and now Brandon as he takes up that role. Lord, our children are our heritage, Lord, and you put good men in those roles, Lord. And Lord, for Gary and those who, Lord, when Philip's house caught on fire just a little over a year ago, they were there within minutes, God, and helped to keep that from being a disaster right there. Lord, thank you for those men who risked their life, Lord. When I had some trouble recently and I called Derek on the phone, he was right there saying, what can I do to help you, Pastor? And he was right there to help me in that time of need. I thank you for it, Lord. And God, they got some tough decisions here, and I know that's tough, Lord. But Lord, I grew up in the home of an alcoholic, and my dad was a good man. But when he got a little bit of alcohol in him, it changed him altogether, Lord. And God, it touched his health. It put him into depression and anxiety at times, Lord. And as a pastor, I work with people in marriages, Lord, that alcohol has just caused so much damage. And Lord, I remember as a child, as a 16-year-old, on the basketball court at Stanley High School, and my daddy up in the stands. Referee made a bad call, which every once in a while they do. And he took his jacket and threw it out on the court, and I saw police have to escort him out. Lord, and I was so embarrassed, God, and so touched by just what alcohol had done, Lord. But God, the last 11 years of his life, you set him free from it. And Lord, he lived a life that allowed him to go into the portals of heaven, a saved, sober man. And Lord, I thank you for all that you do. Lord, it's been a privilege to live in this town for 71 years, to call it home. And God, they'll bury me here. And I thank you for these men and women that make the tough decisions and give their time and their family, Lord. A lot of times they get hollered at, they get bad emails, they get threatened. But Lord, they stand for what they know is right. And Lord, I pray for them. And I thank you, Lord, for this honor to be able to pray. In Jesus' name, and everybody said, Amen. Amen. Hey, that's my preacher part. Y'all get this. Oh, do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to item 2, approval of the agenda. I do have one modification and one addition to the agenda for this evening. The first is item 5A, the public hearing for the ABC Board creation. This item should actually read, the adoption of a resolution to establish an alcoholic beverage control board for the town of Stanley. And that was item 5A. And then the second addition would be, we need to add item 7B to approve the amended LGC contract. Do I have is there any other additions or deletions or modifications to tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda as amended?
I'll motion.
Councilman Kelly made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman, Ms. Kelly made the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move on to item 3A. Do I have a motion to approve the regular council meeting minutes from January the 13th, 2026?
I found an issue in the minutes.
Okay.
Item C, resolution to accept the highest offer for the property at 230 South Main Street. The recorded vote is 5-0. It was 4-1. I dissented.
I remember that.
Okay, we'll make that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other than that,
We'll make the motion.
other than that, I make the motion.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Sweeney. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilmember Helms made the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move now to public comments. Citizens may address any topic and must state your name and full address prior to speaking, and you're limited to 3 minutes to speak. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up?
John Peterson.
Mr. Peterson?
My name is Jonathan Peterson. I live at 202 Bennington Drive here in Stanley. I wanted to bring up the point that I tried to bring up last month, and apparently I was out of order when I tried to do it. But after the meeting last month, I talked with some of the council members and Steve about the order of the agenda here. I think it would be much more appropriate if the public comments section came after new business, so that when new business is discussed and one of us residents want to have something to say about it, we can say it right then at the moment while it's fresh in our minds and you're discussing the subject. As it now stands, as it laid out, we wouldn't be able to comment about the new business stuff until 30 days from now. So I would very much like to see that get changed permanently. Steve talked to me, and apparently he intended to do it.
Oh, yeah, that's on me. But if the
So
council, it's
hopefully-
really up to, if the council feels comfortable with it, then I can shift the public comments after new business.
Well, my question is, do they not have to sign up at the beginning?
They
So
do
how
have
would
to
they
sign
know?
up,
So how would they know with the new business?
Good point.
They would still need to sign up.
So
So would we not be able to talk about new business because we didn't list it on the sheet out there if we did?
Well, I'm sorry, my recommendation would be, if you see something, new business that you might want to speak about, you can always sign up. If you decide not to, you can always defer.
So you could say sign up, but not put anything down in terms of what the subject is?
Correct, yes, it's any subject.
Okay, as long as it's appropriate. All right, thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Does the council feel comfortable?
Sure.
Yeah, I like what you said.
Good idea.
I mean, they don't have to put a topic, they can just go ahead and sign up if they feel like they're gonna have something to say.
Yeah. Are y'all good
I
with
do
that?
worry that people wouldn't even know on the new business, because sometimes, like, new agenda items pop up like they did this month, like they did last month. And how are people going to see it on the website and say, oh, I want to talk about this, but, they don't know that this is going to that X is going to happen.
Well, maybe
So,
when they
I
walk
don't know.
in, if they walk in and they see it, they could say, oh, this sounds interesting.
But what we just said though, I think was, if I understood it right, when they come in, they could sign up to speak, not a topic.
Okay.
But then after we talk, we do our discussions, and if the public has something to say, then they can say it, right? Isn't that how you understood
If
it?
they're signed up.
I guess the way that I was seeing it is, say we have A and B on the agenda, and we come in here and say, all right, there's item C on the agenda. Nobody thought, you would have to preemptively sign up and say, I might want
They
to
would.
talk about a random
Well, they would sign in when they came.
But they don't even know that there's going to be an item C on the agenda yet, I guess is what I'm saying.
Does not
And really, it'd be up to the mayor. I mean, honestly, we don't get all that much people to speak.
Right.
So,
No, I'm just,
it's up to the mayor. Yeah, it'd be up to the mayor. Sorry, that's 3 minutes. That was your 3 minutes.
You went on?
make your way to the exit.
So the mayor can always allow time. If someone in the audience wishes to speak, even though they didn't sign up, that'd be up to the mayor.
Yeah, I'd be on board with that.
Is that
Raise
okay?
your hand and talk if, I don't know.
If we're in order.
Yeah.
If you sign up, you sign up, and if at the end of the meeting you decide that there's no point in giving comment because your questions have been answered, great, we get out of here sooner.
Okay. So still having to sign up, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Makes sense. Okay, now we'll move to item 5 for public hearing. This is 5A, ABC Board Adoption for an Alcohol Beverage Control Board for the town of Stanley. Council will now go into a public hearing, but before we begin, I'd like to go over a few rules of engagement. Council will recognize anyone wishing to speak on this matter. Citizens must state their name and address prior to speaking. For this public hearing, in lieu of 3 minutes, we have had people to email and defer their time to different people. So what we're going to do is we're going to allot an hour for public comment. Manager Denton, will you keep time for the hour?
The whole hour. Sure.
Yes, sir, please. So do I have a motion to enter the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember Hannafin made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Sweeney made the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Clerk, who do we have signed up to speak this evening?
Yes, we do, Mayor. The first one on the list, Dr. Payne.
Hi, I am Danny Penny, and I live at 102 Medallion Court, Gastonia. I'm a pastor here in this town, and been here for 18 years, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the council, and I'm glad to have an opportunity to present my comments with such a great group that's assembled here tonight. Looking around the room, I realize how many of the people that I already know in this room. I have a vested interest as a pastor coming to speak to you this evening. I may not pastor the largest church in Stanley, but I believe I do pastor one of the largest churches in Stanley. And as such, I represent over 600 members at my church, with over 500 people in attendance at my church every Sunday, and several hundred who come in on live stream every Sunday. I don't just pastor the Pentecostal Holiness Church, I consider myself to pastor this town. I'm all over this town every day. I love what I do so well. I rarely take a day off. I rest in between making visits, and I enjoy being around people and all of you wonderful folks. I am a pastor here in this town by virtue of my deep involvement with it. I'm daily in its homes, the hospitals to which the people here go. I preside over many funerals and weddings in Stanley. I am a personal counselor to many of this town's citizens. I have in my phone the names and phone numbers of over 3,600 people who live and work here near in Stanley. And I have a rule that I often always answer all my phone calls on the same day, or at least by the next day, for all those who look to me for pastoral leadership. Whenever there is a town gathering or religious or civic events, I'm often present. I'm on a first name basis with many of the wonderful folks who live here. The great majority of these folks have a vested, entitled, and stakeholder share and interest in what happens in this meeting room tonight. I'm not just speaking for myself, but as someone who is closely connected to this town. I can tell you that as a pastor in this town, that the majority of the people whom I minister and work with and lead do not want an ABC store in Stanley. We are here tonight because of a vote cast 10 years ago. But think about how much our world has changed, and this town has changed, has transformed in a decade. Some will argue that a 10-year-old election makes this a done deal. I disagree. Nothing is a done deal until the gavel falls tonight. This is part of our democratic process. And I would ask tonight for your fullest attention, if possible, because you were elected to do a great work, and we've been praying for you. And we're asking tonight for your undivided attention that we might look at our town in 2026 and not be anchored by the decisions of 2016. Oh yes, there was an election. So much has changed since that election. I'm asking you to look at our town as it exists today. Public safety needs have changed, traffic patterns have changed, and our neighborhood dynamics have changed. Our town has grown about 15% over the past 10 years for one primary reason. People want to live here for its smaller town values. Every Sunday, I have new families come to my church. I talk to all of them. I say, what brought you to Stanley? What brought you to this church? They say, we're trying to get away from the evils and ills and all the terrible things that are going on in other larger towns. We're trying to get away. We're anxious, we're concerned, we love it here in Stanley. We want to live here for these small town values, values that don't include an ABC store. Weigh the consequences of what will happen when you put more alcohol into a town. We're asking you not to tether this town to a decades-old decision that it may no longer either need or want. We stand tonight at a crossroads in Stanley. Before us lies a choice that lots of people have addressed in the cold, sterile language of spreadsheets and profit margins. Listen to me. Money always offers more than it can deliver. The arguments for an ABC store are told with the promise of prosperity. You will hear voices tonight, rational, measured, persuasive, speaking of a windfall that could transform our town. They will paint a vivid picture of what this new money can buy. Improvements to the town, the weight of taxes lifted from your shoulders, the birth of pristine parks where our children might play, the modern facilities that people desire, the programs, the sports, the initiatives, the projects, and a host of other things. The only problem with this wide-eyed talk is that it's going to cost a lot more than the amount of money an ABC store can actually bring to our town. It's a beautiful vision. I understand it. I know why people want it. I truly do. But as you look at the promised gleaming improvements in structures and as yet unfulfilled promises that this money might buy, you owe it a little bit more consideration. While some calculate the gain, they are silent on the human cost of getting the money in the first place. People talk about what money can buy, but they refuse to speak of what the town must sell if you get it. We are invited to feast on the revenue. In all of this talk of abundance, we are asked to ignore the shadows that follow it. The fracturing of homes, the erosion of our peace, the weight of progress built on the very things that tear apart the fabric of our families and the culture of a Bible-believing community. Listen to me. Revenue is a number. A community is a heartbeat. Before we trade our identity for a line item on a ledger, let's decide if the things we are building are worth the things we are about to tear down. As a pastor, I have dedicated my life now for 50 years of service to helping people pick up the broken pieces of their lives, often due, in majority amounts, due to alcohol and its effects. I've served in enough places now for over these 50 years to see what an ABC store, a liquor store, will do to the health and vitality of a small town and to its families and citizens. In no case did the economic benefits ever outweigh the human toll and suffering that a liquor store brings to the lives of the people in a town our size. We want to be wise stewards, not just financially, but we want to be wise stewards in leadership of the moral, social, and spiritual fabric of the community. That's where our real value lies. We must ask, what is the true hidden value of an ABC store? You can't talk about it without talking about the effect that it will have on Stanley and the lives of its citizens. Is the cost of a few more dollars worth the permanent damage to human lives and families? Once you open this door, you can never shut it again. Nobody ever goes to an ABC store to buy bread and milk. They go to buy liquor. They go to get a buzz. They go to get drunk. Liquor money never feeds the children, never pays the rent, never builds a home. Don't mistake social drinking for its deadly reality in people's lives. I've seen what alcohol actually produces. I've lived long enough, pastored long enough, picked up the pieces long enough to tell you of the poverty, the broken homes, the cycle of violence, the terror that passes on from one generation to another who have been habituated and normalized to a life of destruction. There's nothing social about a substance that destroys the very fabric of our community. Voting to seat an ABC store is choosing to profit from the weaknesses of its most vulnerable citizens. It is a documentable fact that most of the people who buy from the ABC store are the most vulnerable of Stanley's citizens. We're called to be our brother's keeper. Our policy decisions should reflect a higher principle. We must protect the weak. They are the minority among us. They need us, not exploiting weaknesses for dollars. Research from the National Institutes of Health and Johns Hopkins University reveals a troubling pattern. Liquor stores are systematically concentrated in low-income and marginalized neighborhoods. This isn't just a matter of location. It is a targeting of the vulnerable. There's enough poverty in this town already. We have seen the poverty level lower, but only because others who have greater means have moved in. The poverty is still here. We see it every day. Let me ask you a question. Have you looked around Stanley? Do you see what we're seeing? There's a reason my church buses 150 kids in every Wednesday night, along with about 75 teenagers. We feed those kids. Many of them come from homes that deal with poverty every day. We lead this community in conjunction with the public schools in the Food Sacks for Kids programs. We feed them because they come from homes that have been damaged by alcohol and other things. Every Friday, those kids involved in the program take home 3 suppers, 2 breakfasts, and 2 lunches in a plastic sack. There's a reason why we do that. Poverty lives right underneath our noses. If you vote in an ABC store, you've just made our job a lot harder, along with the benevolence work of many others who are struggling to keep up. Most of all, it puts the kids at risk, battered women at risk. It puts people's health at risk. The United States Bureau of Labor Statistics says in their consumer expenditure surveys that households in the lowest income spend nearly double the proportion of their pre-tax income dollars on alcoholic beverages compared to higher income categories. We would be no different here. The report calls this a regressive tax on the limited disposable income of the most financially stressed among us. Paul tells Timothy in 1 Timothy 3:8 that leaders are not to be given to much wine. People abuse the Bible to me all the time. They think they know what it says. There are over 100 passages in the Bible that forbid drinking. Of the few that call for drinking, it's for ritual worship services. People abuse the Bible verse of 1 Timothy 3:8. They think it says, oh, it's okay to drink a little, just don't get drunk. The Bible is a simple book, but it requires some study. Paul uses an idiom here from the language of his day when he says not given to much wine. It was a sailor's term that meant don't park your boat here. It's dangerous. It's no wonder that the very next thought in the verse is don't be greedy of filthy lucre. We're talking about money here tonight. Budgets, revenue. That's money in case filthy lucre's, that's money in case you didn't know what it meant. Drunkenness and greed go hand in hand. That's what the Bible says. I didn't say it. That's what the Bible says. People drank wine in Jesus' day, but an upright Roman would never stoop to use undiluted wine. The Bible says stay away from it when it is red in the cup. That means they used wine in that day in the same way we use water treatment tablets in ours. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, who also wrote these words, said, strong drink, that's liquor, will bite you like a snake. In case you're interested where this understanding from the Bible on drinking comes from, I recommend to every serious student of the Bible John Wesley Ewing's book, The Bible and Its Wines. My experiences and the documented evidence of countless studies compels me to speak plainly. Listen, alcohol is a drug. Thank God our noble police stopped a fentanyl lab recently. It's a drug. Alcohol is a drug, a destructive drug. And the sale of it carries an economic, social, and spiritual price far exceeding any revenue it might generate. It is an economic mirage. It is much like the serpent's promise in the Garden of Eden, that a taste of forbidden fruit will make you wise. You'll be progressive. You'll be like other towns. It promises that you'll prosper. But the only problem with that kind of thinking is you won't. Let me put this in context for you. This might be one of the more important things for me to say to you tonight. Alcohol sales do not equal profits, and towns only receive profits. A common misunderstanding is that high liquor sales automatically mean revenue for the town. That is not how the ABC system works. ABC stores must first pay for the cost of liquor, staffing, benefits, utilities, rent, insurance, security, and other operating expenses. As a matter of fact, if you put an ABC store in the town, your town insurance goes up. After that, they must make required distributions set by state law, including payments to the state of North Carolina, law enforcement, and alcohol education programs. Only after all those obligations are met is there any net profit. The town receives a share of that net profit only if one exists. In many cases, especially in the early years of the store's operation, net profit can be minimal or zero, even when the sales appear strong. Here's a reality check from David Fish, who is the executive director of ABC Board in Gastonia. Director Fish stated that the retail ABC stores are profitable, but not the windfall of revenue that you might think. A profit is not achieved for several years. An audit of the local Dallas, North Carolina operation indicates that the store was established on December the 20th, 2006 and did not yield a profit. Are you ready for this? Until 2021. That first profit, $19,000, 15 years after it opened. The most recent check was $44,000 in 2025. Since they opened in 2006, they have had $21 million in sales, but have only profited about $800,000 in 20 years, about $40,000 a year. Can I remind somebody here tonight that $40,000 might sound like a lot of money to a poverty mindset, but in the greater scheme of things, it doesn't compare to the $12 or $13 million our government spends every minute. That comes out to $214,000 a second. $40,000, listen to me, doesn't go as far as it used to go. And whether it's $40,000 or $13 million, which our government spends every minute, no matter how great or small it is, it's never going to be enough. It's never going to do as nearly as much as you imagine it will. And it's not, listen to me, it's not guaranteed money from year to year. Let me remind you that it took them 15 years to get their first check. You are already talking about spending money you don't have, and you're not likely to have for a long time. What is even more alarming, as far as I understand it, is you don't have a definite plan for the amount of money that everybody from everywhere is going to be clamoring for a piece of it. If you have that plan, and maybe you do, in the interests of transparency, I think the citizens would like to see it before you vote. We would all be interested in whom or what you're going to prioritize in the use of that newfound money. What fair input will everybody get in the use of it so that one group is not unfairly prioritized over another? In addition, if you vote this in tonight, what impact statement do you have? I haven't seen it. Maybe you've got it. If we don't have those things, it's what my graduate professor in economics used to call the tail wagging the dog. Don't forget, about 5% of the gross receipts must be spent on or paid to support law enforcement. About 7% of the gross receipts must be spent or paid to support alcohol education and prevention. We're bringing that here. We've got to spend that money for that. About 5% of gross receipts of mixed beverage surcharges must go to the Department of Health and Human Services for treatment, research, and education in substance abuse. Some say that an ABC store will create local revenue. But can I remind you that every dollar you spend at the hardware stores recirculates in town several times. Every dollar you spend at the ABC store goes out of town. It doesn't do anything else for this town. A key study often cited in urban planning shows that money spent at local independent businesses recirculates, but not the ABC. If you bring an ABC store here, you will create an alcohol density store presence in Stanley at 100% increase. Density is less about the total number than more about the proximity to sensitive areas in our town. An ABC store normalizes alcohol consumption among the youth and the vulnerable. It lowers the value of surrounding properties. It increases municipal liability insurance. We've got to think about that. ABC stores create a depressive effect on neighborhood retail stores. The cost of policing it is a nonlinear activity that is due to hotspot policing. We can't guarantee what it's going to cost. ABC stores create budget volatility because you can't count on what you're going to get year in and out. ABC stores lower a town's reputation as an economic asset. An ABC store crowds out more profitable business. We are called to be our brother's keeper. I'm almost done. There's coming, thank you. There's coming a social avalanche in this town. I'll talk until you stop. There's coming an avalanche, social avalanche to Stanley. The emergency rooms are already full. The domestic court dockets are already overburdened. The costs are compounded over time. The store revenue that an ABC might bring in is fundamentally flawed because it counts the income but refuses to count the higher expenses. Please, let's not make Stanley a liquor destination spot for people who are so desperate for money that the ABC presence is a neon sign for drugs, deviant behavior, and even prostitution. Let's don't be a liquor-led economic desperation town. I could go on tonight, but I won't, about the cost of health and emergency services, the cost of families and children. There's a strong correlation between alcohol use and abuse and domestic violence incidents. It is a common factor in cases. One of my members called me the other night about midnight and said, "Pastor, we're upset. A friend of ours lives in another town, drunken husband, guess where he got his liquor from?" The wife decided to leave, she'd had enough. He shot her in the stomach 3 times. Then held the gun on his son's head until the father's father called him and he allowed his son to go. Barricaded himself in the bathroom when the police stormed the house and killed himself. In one night, one 17-year-old lost his mother and his father because of drunkenness. Every town, even a small one, will see an increase in alcohol-related vehicular accidents. The state of North Carolina has 1 person killed every day, year in and year out, in drunk driving. If that were a mass murderer in North Carolina, the governor would call for a statewide manhunt to stop it. ABC stores are a magnet for criminal activity. We don't want them near our schools, our playgrounds, our homes, our grocery stores. We don't want them for its factor in public disorder, assaults, vandalism, and petty crime. I've spent most of my day over in Charlotte today. I saw plenty of drunk people walking around Charlotte, panhandling, begging, staggering. Some of them may be on drugs, many of them on alcohol, I imagine. Let's imagine the net loss cost for our town, no matter how much it brings in. I can demonstrate for you how much it will cost. I close on this. I'm going to close with these words. Eventually, if you vote it in, you might get your money, but others will have to pay the cost for it. The Bible says that time will come when the nation will be in such moral decay and spiritual blindness that there will be, as Isaiah 5:20 says, those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. You can call it ABC 1, 2, 3 like it was a child's game, but it's a deadly trap. What I find most concerning here tonight is that after I've said all of this, some of you are still willing to seat an ABC board for the town of Stanley. It's no wonder that the prophet Isaiah pronounced a woe on this kind of behavior in our day. It come to me this afternoon that there was a time in this country that the majority said it's okay to abuse black people and minorities and treat them in an awful way. The minority in our town are the underprivileged and the poor. I hope that if the majority still wants to abuse those people, there will be courage enough on our board here tonight to say we don't want that in our town. That is my prayer for you. However you vote tonight, I'm still going to be a supporter of this town. I will still be your friend. I will still greet you when I see you in the public. My church will still support the activities of this town. But I promise you that I will pray for you, that God will keep you protected and your loved ones protected from the evil that will come as a result of having an ABC store in Stanley. Well, y'all haven't stopped me from speaking yet tonight, so I'm going to stop myself. I've given you my heart. I've spent most of my pastoral career in this town. I have served its people. When battered women were beat up by drunk husbands, I went to the home. When drunken accidents happened, I stood in the emergency rooms. You didn't have to do that. I did that. When young mothers couldn't pay the light bill, money for which went down the neck of a bottle, we wrote the check to take care of them. I want you to know that this is the great moral issue facing our town. I urge you to vote against an ABC or seating an ABC board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I wanted to make a comment. There was some comments made about the time that was used, and I said that I have gotten over 10 emails of people that deferred their time to Pastor Penny to speak, and I have another person to speak that has time been deferred to him also. So let's be respectful of each other.
Can we have an estimate what the time is?
How much time is that? 20 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, we have 20 minutes left. You guys asked for a public hearing, there's no public speaking.
Well, we haven't finished. We still have time for some more. Madam Clerk?
Yes. Next on the list, Josh Pendergraft.
Yeah, I was hoping to go first. Unfortunately, or fortunately for those who agree or disagree, I didn't get the chance to go first. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I have attempted to get this down to 3.5 minutes. Unfortunately, even through rehearsal, I was not able to get it any further. Joshua Pendergraft, 101 West Park Drive, Stanley. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight because I think it's important that we all clearly understand what the decision is and not being considered by the council today. Tonight's discussion is about whether to establish a local ABC board. It is not a vote to open an ABC store, and it is not a vote to sell alcohol in our town. Those are separate steps that come much later, if at all. In North Carolina, an ABC board is simply a governing body created to study, manage, and oversee alcohol control if a town chooses to move forward. Creating a board allows the town to examine key questions: financial viability, location options, public safety impacts, operating costs, and whether an ABC store would even make sense for this community. Without a board, none of that due diligence can happen. It's also important to remember that this town already had a public referendum. In 2016, voters approved the establishment of an ABC system by a clear margin. Unfortunately, at the time, the necessary next steps of forming an ABC board was never taken. That doesn't undo the vote, but it does mean the will of the voters was never truly explored or implemented. So the question before us now is not, do we like ABC stores? The question is, should we honor the outcome of a lawful public vote by allowing the proper process to occur? For those who oppose an ABC store, this is actually the appropriate place to make your case, not by stopping the process today before it begins. but by participating in it. An ABC board meeting is where concerns about morality, safety, community impact, and economics belong. That's where data is reviewed, public input is heard, and recommendations are made transparently. And for those who support moving forward, establishing a board does not guarantee a store. It guarantees information, oversight, and accountability. Tonight's decision is about process, not outcome. It's about whether we trust our community enough to study an issue voters already approved, or whether we believe that that vote should be ignored or overturned without analysis, telling voters that their opinions don't matter. If there is a reason we should not adhere to the 2016 vote, that is a fair discussion to have. But that discussion should be framed honestly and directly, not as a referendum on whether an ABC store will open next month. And to our faith leaders and congregations, your voices matter in this process. Establishing an ABC board does not diminish your values or influence. It simply ensures those values are heard at the appropriate stage, alongside data, law, and public input, so any future discussion reflects the full conscience of our community. I encourage the council and the citizens alike to keep tonight's comments focused on the question that's actually before the council. Should we establish an ABC board so that this town can responsibly and transparently evaluate its options? And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Jeff Bainter.
Jeff Painter, 116 Ethel Drive. Ladies and gentlemen, council members, residents of Stanley, good evening. I've got a few minutes to talk fast, but I want everyone to actually listen to one another. Tonight isn't about shouting down fear. It's about remembering what we already voted for back in 2016 and finally keeping the promise we made to ourselves. Picture this, 10 years ago on election night, the numbers came in clear. Beer and wine by the glass, yes. A lot of the same sermons got preached, same warnings flew. Drunks on sidewalks, children sneaking sips, God himself leaving town. I heard that personally. None of it happened. Walk Main Street tomorrow. You won't trip over a wino. Pull the police blotter, no spike in DUIs. Crime stayed flat. Our kids still say grace before dinner. So if regulated beer didn't wreck us, why treat liquor like kryptonite? We're not starting from zero. We're finishing what democracy started. Following through matters. When voters speak, councils don't get to selectively choose what they want personally to somehow avoid disaster. Disaster didn't show up in 2016, and it won't drop in with this license now. The vote was a directive from our community to allow regulated alcohol sales, yet it has not been fully implemented as they have directed, particularly when it comes to establishing the ABC store for spirits and the commission. This is fundamentally about honoring the will of the people who spoke clearly at a ballot box a decade ago. Opponents then feared drunks wandering our streets and a spike in drunk driving. But this experience locally has told a different story. There was no noticeable change in town behavior, no uptick in intoxicated individuals disrupting our community, and no reported increase in DUI incidents in Stanley. Crime rates have remained stable, with our town's violent crime rate staying low and comparable to or below state averages, proving that regulated access doesn't lead to the downfall some predicted. Delaying just means Mount Holly keeps cashing the checks. We argue theology on Facebook. Their ABC board send $375,000 a year straight into upgrades and playgrounds for their children. That's not pocket change. That's a new soccer field for Stanley or upgraded sidewalks. We let nearly $3 million in potential profits evaporate because we pretended hesitation was caution. For Stanley, forming an ABC board would mean local control over a regulated system, generating revenue we all agree we desperately need. Projections show first-year sales could reach $800,000 to $1.5 billion, with profits flowing back to us, potentially $100,000 more yearly after cost. This isn't speculative. It's based on similar small-town models in North Carolina. And the startup, while initial costs for setup, inventory, and operations range from $800,000 to $2 million, funding options like zero-interest loans from the State ABC Commission make it feasible without burdening taxpayers up front. But revenue is just one piece. An ABC store would create jobs, good stable positions with benefits for some of our residents, from store managers to clerks In a town our size, that's a direct boost to the families, keeping money circulating locally. It would also enhance convenience, reducing dangerous drives on highways for those who choose to purchase responsibly. And let's not overlook the ripple effect, more foot traffic to revitalize our downtown by creating a means of supporting restaurants, shops, and even our vision for the historic preservation and community events. Now addressing the heartfelt biblical and personal objections raised recently. Many speakers earlier in the week at worship services warned about excessive wine consumption, citing scriptures like Ephesians 5:18 and Proverbs 21, and shared tragic stories of alcohol-related harm, fatal accidents, domestic violence, and shattered lives. These are real, painful realities, and my heart goes out to those affected. The CDC's 249 billion annual national calls from excessive use is indeed alarming. But the Bible doesn't advocate total prohibition. It calls for moderation and wisdom. To understand this fully, consider the different forms of wine referenced in Scripture. As the original Hebrew and Greek languages use distinct terms to add nuance to the term wine. The most common word, yayin, typically refers to fermented, intoxicating wine, appearing over 140 times and often linked to joy or caution against abuse. In contrast, tirosh usually means new wine, fresh grape juice straight from the press, possibly unfermented and non-intoxicating, mentioned in context of blessing and harvest, like in Proverbs 3:10, where it overflows from abundance. Then there's sheker, denoting strong drink or intensely alcoholic beverages, sometimes translated as strong wine, and warned against in excess. Other terms like shemer, implying foaming fermented wine, while in the New Testament Greek, oinos is a general term for wine that can be fermented or fresh, and glucose refers to sweet new wine. This linguistic variety shows that the Bible doesn't treat all wine the same. Some forms are everyday refreshment, others celebratory or medicinal, but the focus is always on context and self-control rather than blanket bans. Jesus turned water into wine at Cana as a blessing. Paul recommended wine for health, and Psalm 104:15 celebrates wine that gladdens the heart. Deuteronomy 14:26 even encouraged buying strong drink to rejoice before the Lord. Ecclesiastes 9:7 echoes this. Go eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. In Genesis 9:20-21, Noah, a righteous man, planted a vineyard and made wine, though his story warns of excess. It doesn't condemn the act itself. Throughout Scripture, wine symbolizes joy, abundance, and even God's blessing. As in the prophetic visions of Amos 9:13-14, where overflowing wine represents restoration. Even in the New Testament, the Lord's Supper uses wine to represent Christ's blood, a sacred element in communion. The consistent theme is self-control. Galatians 5:23 listed as a fruit of the Spirit. And 1 Corinthians 10:23 reminds us that while all things are permissible, not all are beneficial. Biblical wine was often diluted and part of daily life, but the principle remains: abuse is the sin, not the substance. As New Testament Christians, we can embrace freedom with responsibility, not legalism. Being okay with regulated sales doesn't make us less faithful. It makes us practical stewards of our community, trusting individuals to exercise the discernment God grants us. Opponents argue that this store would bring more harm than good, urging us to pour out drinks and rally against the town. I understand the intent to protect Stanley, but prohibition doesn't eliminate issues. It displaces them. Residents will still buy elsewhere, risking roads and exporting our tax dollars. North Carolina's ABC system is designed for control. Strict age verification, limited hours, and revenues funding prevention programs. Last year, statewide sales hit $1.8 billion, with $170 million to local governments. Much of it for substance abuse education and rehab, like grants to Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Our state ranks low in per capita consumption, but high in revenue, proving balance works. In Wake County, millions go to nonprofits fighting the problems we fear. A local store would do the same here, turning potential pitfalls into proactive solutions. In closing, forming the Stanley ABC Board honors our faith by promoting moderation, supports our economy with jobs and revenue, and counters harm through regulation and education. Imagine the powerful role our local churches could play, leading the way in programs to educate our community about drinking and driving and the risk of excess. With grants straight from that board, pastors and volunteers could run sober grad nights, recovery groups, parent forums, real boots on the ground change. We've waited long enough. Let's not miss our opportunities. I urge you to vote yes to establishing the board and join me in building a vibrant city. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Lenny.
Good evening, Mayor Kirkland, council members, town manager Denton. My name is Carrie Lanning, 107 General Joseph Wheeler Street. And usually when I speak to you off a script, and I never make it within the 3 minutes, so I didn't do a script. We're going off the hip tonight. As y'all know, I like to deal with facts. I have an opinion. My opinion really doesn't matter. This is the rules surrounding your ABC board. Not double-sided, it's single-sided, okay? This is for Mayor Denton, because I wanted to use my paper, not yours, all right? These regulations, and I appreciate the speaker before me, but you do not need an ABC board to sell beer and wine. You need an ABC board to sell spirituous liquor, all right? Now, again, I don't have a problem with liquor, not at all. Be glad to drink it. If you build it, I'll go to the store and buy it. Okay, I got no problem with that. However, once you seek this ABC board, when you go to Article 7, it tells you, it doesn't say, we're seeking this board to evaluate. Once you seek this board, this board moves on whether you want them to move on or not. And they're not putting it up for a vote. All right, so on day one of this board, you need a general manager. That general manager makes an average of $111,000. You need a CFO. That CFO isn't going to work for you for free. You also need an ABC officer. You need a $50,000 bond for each member of that board. So if you appoint a 3-member board, that's a $50,000 bond each. If you appoint a 5-member board, it's a $50,000 bond each. Those board members get paid an additional $150 per meeting. The state requires and suggests that you have 12 meetings per year, 1 per month. You have to carry a liability policy of $500,000 per occurrence. And you have to carry the $50,000 bond. That's going to cost them another $250 per year per person. Reports are due by that ABC officer, not for your ABC store, but for the town as a whole, by the 5th, and then those reports have to make it to the state by the 10th. You have to have an annual audit. You have to have a minimum of 1 full-time employee per store, and you have to have 10 part-time employees. Now, y'all can go talk Subway, they can't keep enough people at Subway. I don't know how we're going to find 10 part-time people to staff a store. You also have to present your budget to the city council, and you have to provide for budget amendments. And those have to be approved by the CFO under the local government rules and guidelines for fiscal responsibility. Now, I love you guys. I love this town. This is not where I grew up, and I was not here in 2016. Okay? But before I embark on any business venture, whether it's your money or my money, I want to see a business plan. I want you to define the goals. What are the goals? Okay? It can't be to bring beer or wine, because it's already here. So the goal of an ABC board is to build a store. It's to not to evaluate, it's to build a store. Build the store. I don't care whether you sell me alcohol or widgets. I want to see who's financing this. Whose money are you using? What is my return on investment? And how are you going to use the investment? And unfortunately, fortunately, the preacher was correct. The average return on investment minimum is 15 to 17 years. All right? Is it a social district? Well, if you want a social district, we can do that by a zoning ordinance. We can put the pen on paper and do that. So I don't know where we're going. And I would like to see somebody do some due diligence. I'm not worried about the statistics. I appreciate the statistics, but yeah, not work on paper in Shark Tank on any night. Okay, Mark Cuban is not buying in. Now, Facebook says Mount Holly. Well, we don't want to send our money to Mount Holly, right? This micro paper that Steve also gets is every ABC board in North Carolina and their results last year. Their gross receipts, their expenditures, their return on their investment, and their net income. Mount Holly lost $72,653 in the last fiscal year. $72,653. They lost it. They didn't make it. They have one store. That one store employs 15 people. The lady who runs the store makes $90,000 a year. Bessemer City. Bessemer City made $8,319. Cherryville lost $20,923. So I'm okay if you want to send my money to Mount Holly. Let them keep losing the money. Because I don't see, if the argument is, well, we're gonna take business from Mount Holly, they're gonna be pretty happy about that. In addition, Mount Holly's annual report, which finally got filed this year, 2025, had not been filed since 2017. They had to file a report. Otherwise, the state was going to take their ABC board. They have 17 violations on their annual report, and all of this is available through your due diligence. Okay? All I did was put it into ChatGPT. Okay? It takes you right to the website. You can download the annual report for every store in the state. Okay? Now, the next question is going to be, well, what did Gaston County do? Okay? Well, I'll tell you, because I like to be fair. Gaston County did a pretty fair deal. City of Gastonia. City of Gastonia has 5 stores. They took in $16,315 last year. Their net income on $16,000 was $848,000. It's not a lot of money. It's just not a lot of money. I would much rather see you support fixing the lead in my water pipes than supporting an ABC store.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
And Mayor, if I may, anybody else that spoke, if you'd like your information entered for the record, I'm happy to take that. Mr. Payne, if you'd like your information entered for the record, that.
For the record, I've got the ABC information here, and last year Mount Holly made $379,854 profit. That's from the ABC board, actual information from the town of Mount Holly,
So that came from, I can send you the link.
Well, I don't want to get, I was going to say,
Just enter that in the information, that's from the ABC board and from the town of Mount Holly general budget.
and you stated that, anything that you read, would you want me to enter that to the record?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, just get that to me after the meeting.
Sure, absolutely, thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have anyone else to speak?
Yes, last on the list, Joel Cullen.
This is the last speaker. I'm still showing we have 13 minutes left, so you have time.
My name's Mike Kraling. I go by Joe, 1810 Creek Mist Place. It's hard to believe, wasn't in this town in 2016, and there's a lot of emotion going back and forth on both sides. Reading Facebook, you see the same thing. I know, just looking at facts, 1920, Prohibition. 13 years later, they realized they couldn't stop people from drinking. They were going to buy it illegally. They were going to buy it somewhere. So I'm more concerned with bringing it local so we can profit from it. You can argue numbers either way. This website says we didn't make money. This website says we make money, and it's not an easy decision. And I don't believe half the stuff I read because over 51% is by bots anyway. Don't trust the internet. All I know is I like to collect. I drink on weekends. I travel all over North Carolina. It's got a great system. They sell it MSRP. When you go outside of North Carolina, you pay a lot more money for the same bottle. An $80 bottle might be $400 in South Carolina because it's hard to find. Why not get some of those bottles here? I've been in and out of over 100 different liquor stores up and down the East Coast. I was an outside traveling salesman. It's a hobby of mine. Like I said, I collect. And the nice thing is, when I find it in North Carolina, I know it's at a retail price, and it makes sense. I'm not putting profits into somebody else. I'd like to see the profits go into the town. So that's my position on it. It didn't work for Prohibition. People are gonna buy it somewhere. Let's not try to benefit, in my opinion, here in Stanley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, anyone else?
That concludes the list.
Okay, thank you. Manager Denton, how much time do we have some remaining time?
Still have 11 minutes and 20 seconds.
Would anyone else in attendance like to speak in the public hearing?
I'd like to.
My name is Gerald Mashaw. I go by Jerry Mashaw. Graduated East Gaston in 2006. I later went on to Gaston College. By day, I'm a IT project manager for a large financial company, and by night, I'm a father to 2 kids and a proud husband to my loving wife. I'm also an avid collector of bourbon. There are a lot of other individuals who are avid collectors of bourbon and tequila. I'll just talk about myself and why I like to enjoy it, and where you can buy it. So, you can tell I didn't have a script, but yeah. So, if you go on Facebook today, there's roughly 50 groups of individuals who have joined these groups who enjoy bourbon, like myself. Stanley also has a subset of individuals who do so. The fact is, we buy more bourbon than we can consume. That bottle is sitting on my shelf that I will never open. They have sentimental value. If anyone has ever heard of Blanton's, it's produced by Buffalo Trace. They have letters on them. People collect all the letters. They have dump dates as to when the bourbon was dumped out of the barrel. People like to purchase that for significance when their child was born. I'd like to purchase a bottle of Blanton's with an S on it and the dump date as the grand opening of the Stanley ABC, and have it sit on my shelf, and I will never touch it. But yeah, I just wanted to bring some light into the fact that people do collect, people do spend more than what they drink, and not everyone's bad. So,
Just mention, please state your address.
sorry, yes, it's 1412 Wendy Park Drive.
Thank you.
Here in Harper Landing, NC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, we still have about 9 minutes left.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir. If you'll state your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Andrew Powell. I live at 126 Melody Drive, outside city limits, but definitely have a vested interest in the town. What else did you need?
That's it, your name and address. Yes, sir.
Along with all of that, I would like to say that I'm an alcoholic, and by the grace of God, a little bit of willingness of myself, and encouragement from family, I've been sober for 6.5 years now. And so I certainly have a personal opinion on whether this thing goes forward or not. And it would be my position that to say you never know when the person who is trying to do right and get things in order might drive by that store at the wrong time and send things right back down to where they came from, because I can promise you from having been there that it's not a really pretty sight at all. And you know, the only other thing I would say is that to the points of moderation, you know, that may be a luxury that some people have, and that's great for them. But for the person who, if I were to take a drink of liquor, I can promise you it's not, I'm not stopping until it's all gone. And so my ability, and I think that, you know, people who are most vulnerable to this kind of decision, we're not able to make the kinds of self-control decisions that others are to consume it. But I certainly understand the democratic process, and I do appreciate that part of it. But you know, it's certainly my opinion that something like this could just be that resource for somebody who's really trying to get things together, and then all of a sudden they drive by that thing after having a bad day, and it goes south. And so I think that would be important to consider when making this decision. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We still have 6 minutes and 22 seconds.
I would like to speak. My name is Amanda Bloom. I live at 414 East Chestnut here in Stanley proper. I was a resident 10 years ago. I voted. You guys have voted on a number of things. You guys have passed a number of things. As a voter, all I ask is that what I was voting for is considered. If not, can we strike everything you guys did 10 years ago? That's all I got.
Is there anyone else?
I'll speak.
I'm Jackie Ewart, 5608 Hickory Grove Road. I agree with what she said. 10 years ago we voted. You have an obligation to address what the people have spoken, what the people want, what the people have said. And yes, alcohol can be a terrible thing. I have seen it. But I think that also I can remember when my mother would make the Christmas cake and pour the rum on the cake. It's not all bad, and I just feel like that the issue is that it was voted on, and now you need to act.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
How much time?
4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Okay, now we'll move on. Is there any discussion or questions from the council in this public hearing?
No one else?
What?
I'm just gonna let y'all have the floor. If not, I'm glad to speak.
Oh, go ahead.
Awesome. I want to give some context on how we got here, because I think that is warranted. First, I would say, you know, I'm a Christian. I prayed over this and I've thought about it a lot. I've heard 1,000 different opinions on this. I don't like to moralize normative behavior. What do I mean by that? You may not support alcohol, but the fact is there's many stores that sell alcohol. There's a restaurant that sells alcohol. There's going to be another restaurant that sells alcohol, or liquor, that is, and Main Street will by the end of this month. And they'll have to purchase it from our ABC store if we have one. I think if we look at what is normative behavior, like I said, you don't have to support alcohol, but it's normal that people drink it. When you go to Hickory Tavern or something like that and you have a water with lemon, there's a bar in there and people are drinking. And if I were to apply a moral code to normative behavior, where would that lead us? You know, the Bible talks about terms like temperance and things like that, and they're talking about in terms of food and alcohol. Should we feel the same way about fast food? I try not to eat it as much. I'd also say from a moral perspective, let's say that we don't go forward with ABC, and in the coming years we need revenue, right? And we raise taxes. During the last election, I talked to hundreds, thousands of people in Stanley. I'd venture to say I've been to more people's door than anybody in this room. And I talked to single mothers. You know, I was born to a single mother in government housing. And multiple single mothers told me, Corey, we just couldn't withstand another tax raise. And the reason I bring that up is it moral to raise taxes on single mothers? You could say that's immoral, right? But that's the slippery slope of accepted normative behavior and moralizing it, because councils lower and raise taxes every single day. That is normative behavior. So that's my first thought on the moral aspect of it. But how do we get here? I think I do owe y'all that. Sometime after the election, I sat in someone's house and learned about a plan for Lincoln County ABC. You see, Lincoln County ABC is having so much success with Denver doing somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 in sales on a Saturday night, that they are now looking to purchase land up 27 and establish a very big ABC store. And why? Well, the number one reason they want to do that is because they know that Stanley never would have one. You know, there's one in Dallas today. I think there's one in Mountain Island. There's one in Mount Holly. And if they put one up 27, there'll never be one in Stanley. And so my first thought was, shouldn't we at least explore it? Right? Jeff Bezos had the great quote, "Your margin is my opportunity." And that's what Lincoln County ABC sees today. It's funny because during this process I learned that Belmont ABC has opened up a second location. Cramerton started with one. They opened up a second. I've heard a lot of talk about how it won't be profitable. That may be possible. But what I will tell you is they see the value in ABC, and that's why they continue to open them up. And we got here today because Lincoln County is going to put one in this area, targeting this population, whether we like it or not. And so I said, maybe we should explore it. So I started having some meetings. And when I started having meetings with leaders in the town, I learned that we'd already voted on this. And I thought to myself, okay, so we've already voted on it. Shouldn't we at least continue to explore it, right? And so I looked at the voting numbers. 60-something% of this town voted for ABC. At that point I said, do we even have the ability to vote no on establishing an ABC board? We do, but I don't think that would be in great character given that people have already went to the polls on it, right? Now people say, you know, all these locations, they're not seeing great success. I've looked at the numbers, they obviously are. People are not drinking in restaurants today because inflation and debasement of currency has had an effect on people economically. They are going to ABC stores and they are purchasing liquor today. And so what is the next step forward? You know, I don't look at ABC for the liquor. I'm sorry. It's not how I think about it. And I understand and I respect, and I've had great conversations with faith leaders in this town. In your official capacity, I expect you to speak out against alcohol. I know the effects it can have. It's had in people around me, right? And it can have debilitating effects on homes. In my official capacity, I have to be concerned with what is best for the economic interests of Stanley, apart from my personal feelings about alcohol abuse or something like that. And so during this exploratory phase, we were having conversations with the Department of Commerce, multiple contacts at the Department of Commerce about something unrelated, and they heard that we were pursuing ABC, and their comments to me were, this is a phenomenal idea, because we are looking at ABC as one leg of a stool as a part of a larger strategy. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, we're getting endorsements from the director, the Department of Commerce to do something like this. They must see the value in it. And you know, I've been out campaigning for our next great sheriff in Gaston County over the last couple of weeks. And as we go door to door, I'm having great conversations with people that voted for me. And they say, Corey, I don't drink. I'm a Christian. But I support ABC. And let me tell you why. Because when you came to my door, you laid out a vision for what you wanted to do. I believed in you, and I believe this path is part of that vision, and I support it. Chase can tell you as much. We've had plenty of productive conversations. I've also had conversations with people who say, Corey, I'd like to say this publicly, but I can't because I get too much backlash in this town. Okay, we have a meeting coming up in a couple weeks to meet with someone from the Department of Commerce. And the goal here is to establish a strategic vision plan for Stanley that doesn't exist today. And during that process, I researched every single freaking grant that exists today in North Carolina that we can get our hands on. I have a full grant report. I know every single one that Stanley is viable for. But what I don't have the ability to do is even apply for those grants. I'm going to tell you why. We're going to hire a grant writer. And some of those grants take a percentage match. So I'll give you an example. One of them I would like has a 5% match. They could give us $1 million, but if we don't come up with $50,000, we couldn't get the grant. You say, well, Corey, that's not a big deal, right? It's relative. You know, I wanted $45,000 for consulting fees for a project that I think would add great value to the town. We don't have $45,000. Corey, I get rebuffed on that, right? And I understand it. This is going to create the ability to be aggressive in pursuit of solving the larger problems that Stanley has. Because you may say, well, it only is going to do $80,000 or $100,000. Well, that's $1 million bank loan. It also gives us the flexibility to apply for those grants. What does it look like in practice, right? People talk about how much does ABC make? Well, I can tell you that in 2005, Mount Holly established their ABC board. And you can tell me what they do or don't make, and you can dispute the facts. I can tell you their account has $1.9 million today. Okay? $1.9 million. And during the last 20 years, they have grown their Parks and Recreation Department and greenways to something that makes Mount Holly one of the greatest places to live, not just in Gaston County, but in this region. Okay? There's a beautiful park in Mount Holly, right? Ransom Hunter Park. Have you seen it? It cost about $1 million to build. How did they get it? They got it on a Part T grant, which means that the North Carolina gave Mount Holly $500,000 grant to build a park. But it was a 1-to-1 match. What does that mean? It means that Mount Holly had to come up with $500,000 to get the $500,000. I believe Duke Energy came in with about $250,000, so maybe we should be friends with Duke Energy. Try to get some money from them as well. But Mount Holly came up with $250,000. If they didn't have ABC revenue, they wouldn't be building a great park. If we don't have ABC revenue, we won't be able to execute on our strategic business plan to solve the problems that people point out to me every day. They say, Corey, some people say, Corey, we don't want liquor, we want better sidewalks. And what they don't understand is, I want liquor to get better sidewalks. Thank you.
So I want to say...
I'm going to let you go first with all due respect.
Okay, that's okay. Well, I want to say that I was elected to, with an obligation as well, and that's what I'm doing. So mine's not as involved as yours is, but we're just going to agree to disagree on this. But the obligation is that I'm to speak for, the people as well. I know you're speaking for the people you talk to, and I'm speaking on behalf of the people that I've talked to as well. So that's what I'm called to do, so that's what I'm going to do. And there are other ways to make money, but I think the biggest thing here is we're spending a whole lot of time on this ABC issue. This has caused so much division in this town, and it's honestly, why are we not talking about a grocery store instead of an ABC store? We have, the people that want an ABC store, they cannot want it more than they want a grocery store. So we have got to focus on this, and that's what we're trying to do. But that's my goal.
If I may,
yes.
I want to make one clear distinction. Stanley is not in the business of much private enterprise, a little, but not much. If you want Stanley, as a council, to weigh in on a grocery store or pursue a grocery store, there's a state that's going to do it. There's a city that's going to do it. It's called New York, under Mondami. That's called communism, right? We can meet with grocers. We can roll out the red carpet. We can take them out for frickin' wine if we want to, but we cannot make a grocer come to this town. It's not in our purview. We do not get into private enterprise. I want a restaurant just like you all want a restaurant. I cannot force a restaurant to come to town. People say, why ABC? Because it is something that falls within our purview that is in private enterprise. It's one of the rare things that we do, ABC. But we don't build restaurants. We don't build grocery stores. We recruit them. We take them out to a nice restaurant.
I know that, and that's why we don't have one yet, which many people don't understand. Please, if somebody would get a grocery store to come here and request to come here, we would. We would.
Absolutely.
Please, come
It would
on.
be on the
We
top
would
of my
say
list.
yes. But
I tried to get a Wegmans. I
I
emailed Wegmans and I said, please come here. This was like a year ago or like 2 years ago.
Yeah, we all agree on
Before
that.
any of y'all knew me, just so you know.
We all agree on that, but I just cannot believe that this is even a discussion. But I will say this, on the two ladies that spoke about the 2016 vote, I wasn't here for that vote. I didn't vote on that. I understand what you're saying, but I didn't vote for that. So I'm just going to do what I believe, and that's what I'm elected to do.
You're
So,
supposed to be representing.
Excuse me.
I'm representing. Yes,
Excuse
ma'am.
me.
And I'm
Is any-
representing the other ones as well. You too, and I'll listen to you. But there's many others that disagree with you. So I guess that's where I'm at too with that.
Does any other council have a comment?
The only comment I have, I'm here to represent the town of Stanley, and that's what I'm going to do. The 2016 vote was a landslide, so that's what I'm obligated to do in the oath I took a few months ago. Whether I like alcohol or not, my opinions do not matter when I'm right here. I'm here to serve you guys, and that's what I
Okay, and I'm going to say something on that, and I I agree with you, Chase. That's great, and that is good, and a lot of people agree with that. This is not my opinion. I also represent so many other people in town. That is where my vote is coming in. So I want y'all to understand that too. It's not my opinion. I do have beliefs. I do have my personal beliefs, but this is something that I'm voting on behalf of the ones that I represent as well. I represent you all. I will listen to you all. If we don't agree, we don't agree. But some of them, most of them do agree. So that's where I'm at.
And no dig me in at all.
Gotcha.
That was not.
That's gotcha, Chase. That's okay. This is going to happen. It's okay.
As it should. We need public commentary like this
It's
more
okay.
often.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Well, I'd just like to say that, you know, I, like Leanna, was not here for the 2016 vote, but my vote would have been against it then. But while many things are legal, doesn't mean all things are good for building up for our community. Because we can doesn't mean that we do it. Just because we can. Anything that will enhance the health, the well-being, and positive culture in the community, that's what we should be doing. That's a good test. That's good legislation. So we want to build up, not destroy. That's my feeling on it.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything?
Honestly, I feel like I was the only person that didn't really care one way or the other about how this went. My whole thing has been, we have about 10% of the population in Stanley that's under the poverty line, and I refuse to raise taxes. And unless we can figure out a way of how to bring revenue in that's not an ABC store, I'm not raising taxes. So that's really
Well, I'm sorry, I do want to say one more thing. I started to say it a while ago and I didn't know whether to or not. But I appreciated Andrew Powell that got here and told his side, the alcoholic. And, you know, I'll pray for him because I know that's hard. But I too have a personal conviction. I'm trying not to cry, but 3 years ago, my son, a 9-year Marine, Jonathan Miskelly was his name, was an alcoholic. Now, he would drive drunk to a ABC store to get the liquor because he did not do beer. He did liquor. And I'm not saying that everybody does that. And I'm just saying I can't be for it because I have that personal bout with it, you know? I don't want any other mother to go through what I went through. I can't do it and sleep at night. But I'm not saying that everybody that drinks liquor is an alcoholic, but I'm just saying I can't, and that's my reason for it.
Yes.
And I was not here in 2016
Yeah.
so I would have voted against it.
Yeah. Yeah, and none of us want to raise taxes. I want to get that out clearly.
Yes.
Clear.
Oh, I live in Stanley. I don't want to raise taxes.
We're not. I don't know where that's coming from because that's not been.
It's in the proposal for 2026. It was released mid-2025.
Okay, well, we're going to discuss that then. Okay.
It's just that's the fact.
Okay, well, nobody wants to raise taxes at all. We live in Stanley too. We don't want to have higher taxes as well. Just like with the, well, we'll talk about that later. With the property
Welcome your
taxes.
vote.
Okay, do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Councilmember Sweeney made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second. I'll second.
Councilmember Miss Kelly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do I have a motion to approve the resolution to adopt an alcohol beverage control board for the town of Stanley?
I'll motion.
Councilmember Kelly made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Sweeney made the second. Since this is a very sensitive issue for our town, I want to make sure everybody's vote is recorded correctly. Councilmember Sweeney, are you for or against?
I am for an ABC store.
Councilmember Kelly, are you for or
I'm
against?
for.
Councilmember Helms, are you for or against?
Against.
Councilmember Miss Kelly, are you for or against?
Against.
Councilmember Hannaford, are you for or against?
I'm for.
That is 3 in favor and 2 against, and the resolution passes. Now we'll move on to item 6, old business, rescinding the public records request fee schedule. Director Penley, could you please provide the council with an overview of this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kirkland. Just briefly, as some of you may recall, and certainly council will recall, we had an item that was added to the agenda during the regularly scheduled meeting by Councilmember Sweeney, requesting that the fee schedule be rescinded. There was a vote, a motion to approve the rescission of the fee schedule, and that vote passed in favor of rescinding the fee schedule. The only issue was that council did not have an opportunity to review the actual policy to see what they were rescinding. So staff met with Councilmember Sweeney to ensure that we had addressed what he had voted or proposed to change. And so what we provided in your packet is what the vote called for. The vote called for the rescission of the fee schedule. So what you were given and provided in your packet was a rescission of the fee schedule. And you'll notice that all fees have been marked through, meaning that there is no fees associated with the public records request. And that's the motion that was voted on. However, in discussions after the council meeting, I believe, and he can maybe elaborate on it a little bit better, but Member Sweeney did not intend to rescind the entire fee schedule, only modify a portion of it. So in order to ensure that all council members are clear on what they voted on, we thought it would be best to provide you with the actual policy. Again, with the same vote, the motion was to rescind the fee schedule, and then had to clarify what it is that you would actually like to rescind. Again, we provided you with what the motion was, which was to rescind. Councilmember Sweeney can elaborate on parts that he intended that maybe didn't come across through the vote. But staff would like to caution that you really take a look, and I hope you have in advance, look at this fee schedule, intently. It's something I think that it's a great cause, but we want to make sure that it's modified correctly, and that we have everything in mind. For example, we've had a recent request, a technology request that dates back several years. That request cannot be retrieved by staff. That request will have to be retrieved by our IT department and reviewed by legal. The fees associated with those could be upwards of $150 per hour to the CT, our IT department. And then of course there are legal review fees as well. So by rescinding the fee, that means that the town will incur all of the costs, 100% of those costs, which ultimately is passed on to our taxpayers. So we can rescind the entire fee schedule where Jane Smith individual doesn't pay anything and she can get all of the records requests that she wants. But just know that on the back end, there will be some fees that are incurred by the town that ultimately come from the taxpayers' funding. And I hope that that's been clear. And maybe Councilman Sweeney, if you
Sure
can
thing.
elaborate a little bit more on what you intended.
So, as we voted on it last week, it gets rid of all of this. And that wasn't my intention. My intention was to remove the special service charge at the last item on the table for the $18 per hour. It was never my intention to remove any fees for paper copies or certified copies, or certainly not flash drives. We don't want to be giving away free flash drives for everybody. But that was my intention. So what this would, and Director Penley, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my takeaway is that we're just removing that last table item.
And if that's his intent, what I might would offer is that maybe a council member, maybe Member Sweeney, could make a motion to approve as modified, meaning that he would like to rescind the
Last
fee,
table.
the fee schedule, but only the $18 line item, and everything else remains the same. So you would be voting to approve the motion, but as modified by council. And so everything would revert back, everything that you see that's redlined out, everything would revert back and would remain in place. The only thing that would be removed would be that $18, the $18 per hour special service fee. That would be the only thing that staff would remove from the policy. So that would be my recommendation is that Councilman Sweeney make a modified vote or amend the vote.
And Mayor, if I could, you know, and I spoke on this last month. Again, I just want to remind the council, we're talking about saving revenue here and looking to cut expenditures. That when somebody sends a public records request and it's lengthy, as Director Henley stated, our IT department is clocking that at $150 an hour. That last review goes to our legal counsel here at $175 an hour. So $325 an hour for a lot of these public records requests. Whether it's coming in from a Stanley citizen or it's coming in from someone from Gastonia, Mount Holly, anywhere. We got one from Wisconsin not that long ago. And so you need to be aware that that's the reason we implemented that policy of charging for excess of, in a 4-hour window, I'd say 99% of the public records requests we receive can be handled in a half a day in that 4-hour period. If it goes in excess of that, that's when that burden goes back on the person requesting that. And that prevents somebody from just sending in these ridiculous public records requests. I mean, just for the sake of having work done. It puts a lot of time pressure on our limited staff. And again, it's not our staff, it's the IT department who, they'll be glad to take $150 an hour for that.
And that's
And that comes back on the taxpayer out here. So if we're talking about protecting revenues from the taxpayer, don't want to raise taxes, I get that, then you need to look at ways before you vote on this.
Thank you, Director Penley and Councilmember Sweeney. Does any of the council have a question for Director Penley or Councilmember Sweeney?
I don't think so. Director Penley, this still includes, you've got the 4 hours. If somebody requests.
The motion as it stands right now is to rescind the fee schedule, which removes all of the fees.
Okay.
Or council could do a modified motion, which modifies it as Councilmember Sweeney intended, which removes just the $18. Or you could vote to disapprove the motion, and that would leave. And correct me, John, if that's correct. They could vote to disapprove the action, and that would leave the fee schedule in place.
And Mayor, since Mr. Russell wasn't here, I would like to get his take on rescinding this policy that we put in place.
Yeah, well, a couple things. First of all, on the motion, you've already voted to rescind this fee schedule. So if you want to change that, you need a new motion that changes that. Otherwise, the vote last month was to rescind the fee schedule to stay in place. I think the only thing that I would add is that public records requests, just like everything in modern record keeping and discovery, is just becoming a lot more complicated. It used to be 5 or 10 years ago anyway, to make a public records request, the clerk would go to the file of the person that would have it, find a couple documents and give it to them. But now, most public records requests require email searches, text searches, other data searches. So it's just really hard it's not realistic that the clerk of court can handle really complex, or the clerk of the board can handle really complex public records requests. Those are few and far between, but when they do come, those are expensive to get. So that's, I think, part of the reason why you have in here IT fees that would be in addition to the special service charges. I mean, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but that's just
well, and then this modified passing would include those those information technology fees.
Right. So then, if you wanted to change that, you would need to make a motion to modify the previous motion to do X, and then you decide as a council how you would modify that.
So Councilman Sweeney, so you're saying to include that to where if
correct. What I'm saying is that this modified passing would, at the end of the day, just strike out that last line of the table.
Okay. So if it was the IT had to charge.
If IT had to charge, that would still stay on the table.
Okay.
That's still on here.
So you were asking.
It's just removing the $18
The
an hour.
last,
Gotcha, okay.
the last sentence of the first paragraph, which reads, the special service charge will accrue at a prorated hourly rate of $18 per hour for any time expended on the request in excess of 4 hours. So that is what you're asking to remove.
Correct.
So are you saying the request will be responsible for the IT charges?
Correct.
Okay, excuse me, I apologize.
No, it's all right. There's a lot of.
And I think my point still stands. I want to review it after 120 days.
Yeah,
but-
That's what I was gonna say too. I would like to review it.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that's the biggest thing is costing the taxpayer money, so there's no, we're in agreement.
Yeah, but this modified version is not gonna do all that, cost taxpayers. With him just striking.
Correct, for legal review, IT searches,
That's one.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
Anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Russell, just to be clear, and so council is clear, we voted to eliminate the fee schedule, so now the motion needs to be to revert that tax back with the exclusion of the $18 per hour special charge. Because right now, officially, there is no fee schedule, is that correct? So they need to return the tax to the way it was minus the $18. I just want to make sure that the motion is worded correctly for the record.
Correct.
I think we're all clear on the text.
It would probably be to reinstate the fee schedule with the exception of
Yeah,
the
that's
$18
what
per hour
I'm
special
saying.
service charge.
Motion to reinstate the fee schedule minus the $18.
Correct.
Okay, do I have a motion to, I don't want to say rescind the public records fees. Reinstate the fee schedule minus the $18 special charge.
I will make that motion.
Councilmember Sweeney made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilmember Hannaford made a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
He wants this.
I oppose too,
Yes.
just because I don't really see the need to do away with the $18 after 4 hours of search.
So that's 3, 4, and 2 against. The motion passes as approved. Let's move on to item 7, new business, review, discuss the candidacy seat for the planning board and board of adjustments. Director Penley, would you provide the council with a summary, please?
Thank you, Mayor Kirkland. At present, the planning board, board of adjustment has one position, one vacancy position and 2 ETJ positions available. We have received 3 applications at this time. I vetted those applications. They all seem, all 3 of those applicants live inside the town. So we would only be able to accept one of those applications, as the other 2 positions are for residents in the ETJ. This would be for an alternate, as we have our members seated at this time. So clarify, we do have an alternate position. We have received 3 applications. Those 3 applications have been vetted and appear to be excellent applicants. I would recommend, again, they were submitted at different times, one in January, one in February, and one as recent as today. Since I have no preference, I would, it would be my recommendation to just, go with the one that was submitted first. However, I believe Councilman Sweeney indicated that they had 2 more, or were aware of 2 more applications that were submitted today. However, staff has checked, and neither the clerk nor myself have received any other or additional applications at this time. So
I do know that those 2 individuals are sitting right in the front row.
I applied today and it's said my name's Gavin Dyer from Shadowbrook. I put my form in, it would not take my resume, so Councillor Sweeney has my copy of my resume there.
I'm sorry, what?
Shadowbrook, I do have one question.
It's not the city
Are
limits.
non-town residents allowed to sit on this board?
No, sir, only.
Can I ask why not then? Because the majority of people who work for Stanley Council live outside the town limits.
Outside the town limits.
It's not in the town limits.
Most of the Stanley Council members live inside.
No, I didn't say Stanley Council. I said most of Stanley Council employees
Parks, Recreation, and everybody else live outside the town council, town limits. So why are you putting certain restrictions on some people and
It's
on
not my
others?
restriction or the town, this is general statute.
Statute, yeah.
Okay.
Because the council's making policy that affects citizens that live in Town.
But yourself, you do not live in this.
That's correct, I'm not making policy. The
He's an
council
employee.
is.
He's an employee, yeah.
I'm an employee of the town.
He's not making.
These are the-
Okay, thank you.
Also, I submitted an application today. Jonathan Peterson,
Okay, did you do it online, Mr. Peterson?
did it online.
Okay, we
I
had,
signed in as an account and everything and saved it.
as of 5 o'clock, we had not received it.
I did it well before 5.
Okay, again, my recommendation, of course, I'm familiar with Mr. Peterson, he's a fine, excellent candidate as well. But due to having had, again, four excellent applications, it would just be my recommendation to go with the first one that was submitted, which was submitted in January, unless, council would advise me to, or direct me to do otherwise.
I would prefer that we, well, we have Jerry Mashaw, and he applied weeks ago, and there's a seat to be filled. I think his resume is pretty strong.
Is it gonna
Well,
hurt?
my concern about him is he's only lived in Stanley for 6 months.
Jerry Mashaw went to East Gaston. He's been.
Well, that's what his application said.
Well, I'm saying, he did move into a nice, beautiful home in Harper Landing and has a vested interest in Stanley. But
Right.
he's been a, Mount Holly guy his whole life and in Stanley, so I think he's got a vested interest in the town.
Well, I'm sure he does, and, yes, sir.
No, I'm just thinking about that we have people that applied, back in September. The council was advised to table it for another month because people's addresses were not able to be verified. I also have a concern that this wasn't openly advertised. I know the email, but you said that they were, that it was advertised in the meeting, but no town meeting minutes for the last year say that there's a position open. So I do have a concern that a little line of text when you have to go to government planning board, apply here, instead of having hey, we're looking for somebody.
So would
Hi,
it-
the town of Stanley needs you.
So
That
would it
kind of
hurt to wait another month and go through all the applicants and give them plenty of time?
No?
Why don't we do that, especially since we haven't received the others?
Well, is the council in agreement to wait till next month,
Yes.
to postpone this till next month to vote?
Only because there's so many applicants that
Right.
we have, that say they sent it in and we haven't gotten them.
Okay.
So I
Well, that
think
is
technically,
okay.
Mr. Kelly made a motion to approve an application. So if
Absolutely.
there's, if there's a motion on the floor,
Okay.
you need
Oh,
to
you made
address
the
that
motion?
before-
I would prefer that we
I'm sorry.
approve
Before you
Mr.
can
Mashaw's.
take another motion. So at least see if there's a second, if there's a motion to approve an application that was on, in the agenda packet. So kind of need to see if there's a second. If that does not pass, then you can discuss alternatives.
Okay. Do I have a second on Councilman Kelly's motion for Gerald Michaud to be appointed to the planning board?
I'll second that.
Councilman Hannafin made the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Oof.
Any opposed?
I wanted to just wait.
I
wanted to
just
see
wanna
everybody.
wait too.
I just
Ma'am,
want to
can we
wait.
do a roll
We got a bunch of people.
Pardon?
You might
Can we
do
do
a
a
roll
roll
call
call?
just to.
Okay,
Okay.
roll call.
All right, Councilman
Just sort of
Sweeney,
do a-
We
make
have
it do
four.
a-
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Councilman Councilman Skilling,
No.
and Councilman
Oh,
Hannafin.
yes. But I understand.
So there's
So just to be clear, we're gonna
table this.
table it, advertise, okay, we're gonna advertise,
Billboard.
on social media, website.
I'll do an ad tomorrow.
And if I may, just to reiterate, that is, the position in question is, we only have one position available for a resident that lives inside the town limits, and that is as an alternate. However, we desperately need a representative from our ETJ, which is the extraterritorial jurisdiction. And as I know, management and council are aware, the public may not be aware that Stanley, relinquished most of their ETJ probably about 5 years or so ago. They had the largest ETJ in Gaston, in the state actually. They had a 2-mile jurisdiction, which they voluntarily relinquished. So I would encourage, it's not a smooth buffer like it used to be. They only retain certain areas. So I would highly encourage, if you know anybody that lives pretty much adjacent to the city limits, but just right outside that line, please encourage them to reach out to myself, so we can verify if they do live in that ETJ and get them started on an application if it's valid.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Finley. Okay, we'll move on to new business, item 7. We did A, so we'll move to B, approval of the amended LGC contract. Manager Denton, could you please update us on the contract?
Sure, I'd be glad to. This item is really just an amendment to our annual audit contract. It does two things: it extends the audit submission deadline and adjusts the audit fee. So the audit deadline is being moved from December 31st to February the 12th, this Thursday. Appreciate you approving the amended contract. That was one part of it. This gives the auditor additional time to complete the required work, and also the audit fee is increasing by about $4,600. That's the max. I'm pushing back on that. You know, I told him I felt like it was a little bit expensive. I'm trying to cut that in half. He feels like he can do that, so all they can do is say no. So
Thank you.
that's what the amendment is.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any questions from the council?
Was this because they were behind? They were behind?
No, this is just well, they were a little bit behind, but the LGC came back and extended the deadline. For people doing a single audit.
Okay.
So we're good.
Good.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the LGC amended contract?
I'll motion.
Councilmember Kelly made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Sweeney made the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we'll move to item 8, which is the department reports. The finance report has been provided. Any questions for Director Robinson? Director Robinson, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I did want to add just one of the reasons that the contract was extended was the government shutdown. That hurt us. So that was the main reason.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The planning report has been provided. Any questions for Director Penley?
I just want to clarify one thing, and it's not. Director Finley, if y'all were to have an important issue that came before the planning or board of adjustments over the next month, y'all are properly staffed to be able to hear those issues, and there would be no recusals or issues that would require y'all to wait on an additional appointment?
It's kind of a loaded question, and it really depends on the type of application it is. And if you've got a personal application in mind, I'm happy to discuss that. But generally speaking, if an applicant meets, for the planning board, if an applicant meets the deadline for submittal, and a lot of times if they don't, if I can meet the deadline for a legal ad, we can get general zone push through fairly quickly.
Okay.
However, that being said, special use permits that are issued by the Board of Adjustment are a different matter and a different concern.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we have received an application. It is going to be a bit of a delay, and the applicant has been advised for that reason.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm happy to discuss that with you personally later if you have a special interest in that.
I do.
But it is because we have an influx of new board members, and those board members have not been properly trained on the procedures.
Okay.
That's a legal proceeding versus the legislative, which is what the planning board handles the most. So that's why there's a little bit of it.
Thank you. The Public Works report has been provided. Any questions for Director Hendricks? Director Hendricks, would you like to add anything?
I just want to really thank all of our extra departments during the winter storms. We had approximately 9 breaks. We had one where we went 32 hours. All of our guys worked 32 hours straight fixing leaks. So not only us, but we had surrounding towns. City of Mount Holly actually stepped in and helped us. We actually had guests on the supplies and parts. But they also had about 16 leaks between the two of those as well too. So it was a busy couple of nights for us. So I would do want to thank all the departments to help us out.
I mean, 30+ hours. I highly commend you.
Yeah.
cold, the wind, they were right out there getting it done.
So, and again, if I'm not mistaken, the cold weather's caused municipalities all over the county.
Yeah,
Caused a lot of these
I
leaks.
think City of Charlotte had the most, about 26
Yeah.
one night.
So yeah, those guys were out there in the freezing cold, the wind. I remember how it
Yeah.
was last week. It was brutal. Those guys were out there over 30 hours straight, and so kudos to them.
Yeah, we appreciate you. The recreation report has been provided. Any questions for Director Dishman? Director Dishman, would you like to add? The fire report has been provided. Any questions for Chief Hilton? Chief Hilton, would you like to add anything? We thank you for your guys getting out so quickly. At least that one fire in my neighborhood, I know you were there. What, tell us about it. Yeah, tell us. No, tell us about how quick.
4 minutes, right?
By the time the county gave us the call, the time we had a hose in the house was 4 minutes.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
It was like 20 minutes.
And no one was harmed. Everybody got out okay, and your guys were good. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. The police report has been provided. Anybody have questions for Chief Hill? Summy? Chief Summy, you would like to add anything?
I don't have anything.
I know your guys have been out in the cold and the weather too. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Manager's report. Stephen Denton, our manager, do you have something you'd like to share?
Sure, I'll be quick. I know everybody's ready to get out of here. Just a few things with the Bar Basin Phase 2 project. Pre-construction meeting was last week. So the survey has begun. We'll give you regular updates as that moves along. So that's going to be a huge project that we talked about a little bit last month. Jackson Park crepe myrtles. Councilman Kelly, I think, had a few emails on him. That's his award. Duke Energy owns the right of way where the crepe myrtles were planted. So Duke Energy came through there and cut down the trees, which upset several residents within the neighborhood. Public Works did come through. No, it's not our responsibility, but the guys did come through there once again, and cleaned up that work that had left. Duke Energy did say, hey, we have the right. Anything else that's planned there? Residents asked, can we plant something there? Can the town, to go through there and spend money to plant, just have Duke Energy come through there might not be the best, use of taxpayer funds. I did receive a quote to go through there and grind the stumps. If the town wanted to do that, to the tune of $3,300. Again, it's not our responsibility, but it's something that you're going to hear from residents. Hey, we went through there and cleaned up the woods, but the stumps are still there. So if y'all want to pay to have that done,
Art piece.
It might be 4-1, but I hear about it a lot.
Something to think about. Live stream meetings, we talked about getting quotes, and has received several quotes. One quote came in at $12,500. Video Sound Solutions came through at $8,200. Mr. Pendergraph was the lowest bidder that we talked about last month at $4,680. And so
I'd like to see if we can get lower.
okay.
I'd like to chip in too. In fact, I'll put myself out there. If I can get it below $1,500, I will pay for it myself. It will not cost the taxpayers a dime.
I'll go in half with you.
Appreciate that.
All right.
It's a great people.
Well, thank you
All right.
guys. Yeah.
I'm trying. If y'all know
Good
anybody,
apologies.
I've tried to
When
get
I say below 50, I mean 1,500 or below, just to be,
you know what you said.
Josh, can
well,
you do that?
I married a philosopher, and
Can you
she.
do that, Josh? 1,500?
If I,
Yeah.
question for, have you finished your?
Well, I was going to say, listen, if y'all can have that, I've tried to get several other companies out. It's tough to come out here for, they will throw a high dollar out there. So if y'all know of any other body that,
Well, when you're done, I got questions about that. So.
okay.
I just had one question for the manager. I think last month we had Mr. Dyer speak about the community center. I was tagged in a couple things, went and did some exploratory questions to figure out what's really going on there. I've been advised that the roof is falling in and
Termite
that
infested.
it's termite infested. Upfitting that unit would be, cost prohibitive. I think Tug Deason actually told me that they looked into removing the structure from the property. It was about $30,000. So if I could, I'd like to direct the manager to get an assessment done to figure out what is the value today, and maybe what the cost would be to remove that. That way, at least in the coming months, we can consider what might be the next step for that land.
Okay.
Other than leaving a dilapidated building
Sure.
on town property.
So just get a quote on demo.
I would like to know what it would cost to demo it and how much the land's valued at. So
Okay.
if we so choose over the coming months, we would have the ability to act on that.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that People want a community center. We own land in the town today, which if we were to get the funds to build a community center, there's a better spot for that to be. That current site wouldn't be able to service or be revenue generating, so.
Okay, I'll have it for the next meeting.
Just touching back on the video. I know Manager Jenkins was working on this in October 24, and I'm just wondering what equipment we have left over from that, just to get it.
His personal equipment that he brought in.
Okay, it was his personal. Okay. And I know we were filming during COVID. Do we have any of that left over, or hanging out
Director Henry, do we
somewhere?
have any of that equipment? Was that?
That was all, Mr. Jenkins.
That was all
That was
personal?
all?
Okay.
Okay. I have other questions, but I'll just shoot them to you.
Okay.
Now they're not pertinent to
Okay.
the meeting.
And our work continues, and if you know anybody else that maybe provide a photo, please send those to me as well. I did have a meeting with the owner of 220 and 222 South Main Street. It's a former doctor's office and the former pharmacy, the building beside the police department, the old pharmacy. They are considering a partnership with another investor with the goal of bringing a restaurant to the location. The owner's been trying to. I think he's at the point now where he's looking to make substantial investment in it. So I plan to set up a meeting with the owner of that building and another investor here in the coming weeks. So any of you that want to be involved in that, please let me know and I can arrange that. We're about sunshine open meeting law, so. Can't take all of you there.
I would love to
Okay.
see something come there.
So you guys decide what maybe a couple of you. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you.
Mayor, one quick comment.
Yes, sir.
Just an observation, there was some discussion earlier in the meeting about the order and where public comments should fall in the meeting. And as Stephen said, it's totally up to the council to control your agenda, you guys do. But this is generally follows like the school government recommendation, how to have it. And there's two reasons that I think public comment are earlier in the meeting rather than later. One is that, of course, when you get to your new business and old business, that's not a public hearing. It's really just for you all to discuss and vote on. So if somebody wants to comment on it, if you put the public comments after new business, that issue's already been decided, and so they don't have any input really for that. The second thing is it's also an opportunity for citizens to come to you and address and bring your concerns to it. And typically Stanley does not have lengthy meetings, so this is really an aberration. But in a lot of places, someone just wants to come, make their comments, and then leave and go to their family. And so if you had them after your public hearings, after your new business, you have folks waiting around to address the council or bring an issue for some period of time. But all that aside, you all control where you want to do it. There's just, I wanted to make those observations. Thanks.
Thanks.
What do y'all would y'all like to leave it where it's at, or move it?
I have no opinion.
I think so too. I think with Mr. Russell's comments, that we should probably leave it.
Absolutely.
Will you relay that information?
I can relate Mr. Peterson if you'd like me to, just based on Mr. Russell's comments.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll move to item 10, council reports and comments. Does anybody have anything?
I do have one. I know I've been in contact with you about the trash system for the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
We had in our neighborhood a rapture situation. One can would be taken and the next would be left behind. But that got taken care of Thursday about an hour before your email. And I was running to get the neighbors, wake up, get it down there. But I do have a collection of emails. I'll just hand them to you instead of reading them to you. But
do you know, is there a reason why there's, is there cars parked? Or
no, it was just
random.
Like,
okay.
In fact, one of the days I saw the truck go down Bennington and just come back down Bennington.
Well, let me know, please, and I've reached out to him in the past. And I do want to give, accomplishments to our public works department who came down on the flatbed, and picked those up.
Appreciate that. I really appreciate it. But and we all do. But that was, just before I left, there was another Bennington page thing that said, "So why didn't they come today? Or why aren't they coming this week?" It's
right.
And I know there's been a lot of complaints. There's one fella, he's doing construction. The truck will park and the man will get out and use his private porta potty that his construction workers are using.
Anything like that.
He'll park in the middle of the road for 30 minutes and just.
Yeah, any
So,
feedback is
but I'll
cool.
give this to
Okay.
you. I told, I'm just following up.
Yeah, no, okay. And I'll forward all those to the, what's connected.
Anyone else having comments or? You good?
We'll write a motion.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll motion.
Councilmember Kelly made this motion, Councilmember Henderson made the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll let you listen to
Thank you all for coming out.